You preach about a God you've never met. The voice sliced through the evening air like the edge of a broken bottle, sharp, trembling, uninvited. Reverend Father Elijah Marcellus froze on the dusty path that led from the cathedral to the old bridge. His cassock swayed softly in the wind, brushing against his knees. The sunset behind him bled into the horizon, streaks of orange and crimson like spilled wine over the sky. He turned slowly. There, standing barefoot in the middle of the road, was the village madman, Khalid, the one everyone feared, mocked, and avoided. His hair was a tangle of dreadlocks, his beard wild as thorns, and his eyes, those eyes, glowed with a strange calmness that did not belong to madness. Elijah's first instinct was to walk away. But something about the way Khalid had spoken, measured, clear, and strangely deliberate, rooted him to the spot. Father Elijah Marcellus was not an ordinary priest. He was the pride of St. Gethsemane Cathedral, learned, eloquent, deeply respected. He had studied theology in Rome, debated scholars, and was known for his unshakable faith. To many, he was a man who could not be swayed, not by doubt, not by temptation, not by reason outside his belief. But beneath his calm sermons and measured tone, Elijah had a secret turmoil. For months, his prayers had begun to feel like echoes in an empty cave. He preached about faith, yet he no longer felt it. His dreams were restless. His mind was full of questions he dared not ask aloud. If God is one, why so many paths? Why so much division among those who claim to love him? He hid those questions behind his gentle smile and silver crucifix, thinking perhaps the doubts would dissolve with time. They didn't. And now, in front of him stood the village madman, Khalid, calling him out in words that pierced through layers of pretense. "Who are you to speak to me in that tone?" Elijah asked, his voice trembling between anger and curiosity. Khalid chuckled, revealing broken teeth and a gaze too calm for insanity. "Names don't matter," he said, "but truth does. I only speak when the wind tells me someone is ready to listen." Elijah frowned. "You're mad." "Perhaps," Khalid said, "but even madness has meaning when sanity loses sight of truth." Something about that sentence clung to Elijah's chest. He should have walked away. But instead, he found himself saying, "What truth do you speak of?" Khalid's smile widened, slow and unsettling. "The same truth that made Jesus bow, that made Moses kneel, that made Muhammad weep." Elijah's eyes narrowed. "Don't speak of my Lord and compare him to your prophet." Khalid tilted his head. "Your Lord? Or the Lord? Tell me, Father, how many lords exist?" Ashira was a quiet town built around old stones and older beliefs. Christianity was its backbone, Catholicism its breath. There was one small mosque at the edge of town, barely attended by a handful of traders and travelers. Khalid was known to roam between both worlds, neither fully accepted by Christians nor embraced by Muslims. Some said he once studied abroad and returned broken. Others swore he was once a scholar turned mad after his family's tragic death. No one knew his full story. But Khalid had one habit that intrigued people. He often quoted scriptures. The Bible, the Quran, ancient texts. And he spoke of them not as one who memorized them, but as one who understood them deeply. Children called him the walking paradox. Adults called him possessed. But some whispered he was enlightened in disguise. That night Elijah couldn't sleep. Khalid's words kept echoing. "You preach about a God you've never met. Your Lord, or the Lord?" For a man like Elijah, used to clear definitions, that ambiguity was torment. He decided he would confront Khalid again, not out of faith but out of wounded pride. Elijah found him by the riverside the next morning. Khalid was sitting cross-legged on a rock, staring at the water's reflection as if the ripples were verses. "You again?" Elijah said, his tone sharp. "You seem to enjoy disturbing men of God." Khalid didn't turn. "Men of God?" he whispered. "Or men of religion?" Elijah bristled. "There's no difference." Khalid finally faced him. "There is. Religion builds walls. God breaks them." A silence spread between them, thick as fog. Elijah crossed his arms. "If you claim to know so much, tell me then, who is God?" Khalid looked at the river, smiled faintly and said, "God is not a Christian, not a Muslim, not a Jew. He is beyond names, beyond rituals. But those who seek him sincerely will always be led by him, no matter the path." "That sounds poetic," Elijah said dryly, "but dangerously misleading." "Is it misleading," Khalid asked softly, "to say that truth remains truth, even when wrapped in different words?" Elijah frowned. "You twist words. And you polish lies," Khalid replied calmly. That stung. Over the next few weeks, their encounters became frequent. some accidental, others deliberate. Elijah found himself drawn to the madman's strange wisdom. Khalid spoke not like a preacher but like a mirror, reflecting what Elijah tried to hide. He spoke of compassion that transcended labels, of humility as the true measure of faith, of prayer not as repetition but as surrender. Religion, Khalid said one evening, is a boat meant to cross the ocean of ignorance. But once you reach the shore you must step off it. The problem is, people worship the boat and forget the shore. Elijah couldn't deny the power in those words. Yet each time, Khalid ended their conversation with the same cryptic line. Father, one day when truth knocks you will open, not with your lips but with your heart. It began with thunder. Elijah found himself standing before an endless desert. A single man stood in the distance, cloaked in white, whispering verses carried by the wind. The man turned, and Elijah saw Khalid's face. Come closer, the man said. When Elijah stepped forward, the sand beneath his feet became pages, pages of scriptures, burning and merging until they formed a single line that glowed. There is no God but God. Elijah awoke gasping. Sweat drenched his body, and the echo of those words throbbed in his chest. He tried to dismiss it as a dream, but something deeper told him it was a call. Days turned into weeks. Elijah began to study secretly at night. He read the Quran, at first to find flaws, then out of fascination. He found stories familiar yet different. Jesus, Isa, Maryam, Abraham, Ibrahim. Their stories mirrored those of his own scriptures, yet with layers he had never seen before. He was struck by how the Quran spoke of Jesus with reverence, not as a god, but as a servant of God, born miraculously, honored above nations. He began to see harmony where he once saw division. Then one evening Khalid appeared again, barefoot as ever, holding an old rosary in one hand and a prayer bead in the other. You've started to see the bridge, Khalid said. Elijah stared at him, trembling. How do you know what I've been reading? Khalid smiled. You think truth hides from those who seek it sincerely? The moment you opened your heart, heaven whispered your name. Elijah's eyes burned. Why me? Because you doubted, Khalid said simply. And only those who doubt can truly find. Word began to spread that Father Elijah was behaving strangely. He canceled sermons, spent nights alone, and was seen speaking with the madman too often. The church elders warned him, distance yourself from that lunatic, Father. He is a blasphemer. But Elijah couldn't. Something inside him had shifted beyond control. He felt like a man standing between two mountains, the mountain of tradition and the mountain of truth. He prayed desperately one night, tears streaming down his face. God, if you are truly one, show me the path you favor, not the one I fear. That night the dream returned, this time clearer. He stood before the same man in white, holding a light that blinded him. And when the light faded, he saw not Khalid, but himself, kneeling, whispering words in Arabic. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The next morning Elijah walked to the mosque on the edge of Ashira, the place he had once passed with disdain. Khalid was already there, waiting as though he had known all along. Elijah's voice shook. I don't understand what's happening to me. I feel both lost and found. Khalid smiled gently. That's how every soul feels when it finally meets its maker. Is this Islam? Elijah asked. Khalid nodded. It's not a new religion. It's the oldest truth, submission to the One. Elijah hesitated, tears brimming in his eyes. But was a reverend. Khalid placed a hand on his shoulder. And you shall remain a servant of God, only now with clarity. In that quiet moment, beneath the dawn's first light, Father Elijah Marcellus, once the pride of St. Gethsemane, spoke the words that would change his life forever. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. And as he finished, he felt something he hadn't felt in years, peace. Not emotional peace but the kind that silences every question. The town erupted in shock. Rumors flew like wildfire. Some said Khalid bewitched him. Others claimed the priest had gone mad. The church stripped Elijah of his title. His friends abandoned him. But he didn't fight back. He smiled through the whispers, the ridicule, the loneliness, because inside he felt something stronger than all of it, truth. And Khalid? He vanished one morning, just disappeared. Some said he moved to another town. Others believed he was never truly human to begin with. But Elijah, now simply called Imam Elijah, knew the truth. Khalid had been a test, a messenger in disguise. Years later Elijah, now aged, serene and respected as a teacher of faith, was walking near the same riverbank where he had first met Khalid. He heard laughter, faint, familiar. Turning, he saw a figure in white standing across the river, waving. Elijah's heart stopped. It was Khalid. He smiled just as before and called out, "Now you've met the God you once preached about." Before Elijah could respond, the figure dissolved into light, merging with the wind and water. That night Elijah wrote in his journal, "Faith is not about belonging to a name, it is about belonging to truth. And sometimes truth comes dressed in madness, so only the humble recognize it." Years after Elijah's death, scholars discovered his writings, reflections that bridged the Bible and the Quran, showing harmony between scriptures. His works inspired interfaith dialogue and peace across borders. On the final page of his last book he had written, "Khalid was never mad. He was merely a mirror polished by divine hands, to show me what sanity truly meant." And below that, in delicate handwriting, "May every seeker meet their Khalid."